We are now going to continue with a special focus on crime. We're going to take you back live to Hammanskraal, where my colleague Unati Pagyashe is, of course, standing by with those very important voices as we do continue focusing specifically on crime in relation to the blind. Unati, a very good afternoon to you once again. What is currently happening at this stage?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Alicia, and our viewers. Again, let's just establish where we are. We are coming to you live from Hammanskraal. Of course, this is a special focus for the SABC. We're focusing on crime, but we are touching on a community that for the longest time has thought it is, marginalized. And of course, not too long ago, in fact, last weekend, a community meeting was held right here at the Dominican School for the Deaf, where parents got together, as well as educators from the school and other organizations, including the SAPS. And we'll be speaking to some of our guests here today, just to get an understanding in terms of what their issues on the ground are as it relates to crime. Of course, we've heard from a little bit earlier on from my colleague Fortune Madlala, who also is interpreting for us today, just about some of the hardships that this community is facing. I'm going to introduce you to the panel, but I want them to introduce themselves, and I think we're going to start with one of the parents here today. So we've got the parent as well as the assistant teacher. Ma'am, if you can introduce yourself as well as just who you are and also your lived experience when it comes to crime.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Kineilwe. My surname is Mukhati, and this is my sign name. I live here around Pretoria, and I'm here representing parents. When it comes to the issue of crime, we've experienced a lot of challenges, especially I'm a driver myself. And at times, there was a time where I was just checking the navigator, and while I was driving, and someone just came in and then put their hands and then took their phone from the car. And so it's a struggle. Also, you cannot even shout. And then I went to the police station to try and report that my phone has been stolen. And it took forever because of the miscommunication. They could not even communicate, and because there's no sign language interpreter, so it's a big challenge. So I think there's a lot of issues. Actually, it's lots of sad stories, I must say.
And then I'm going to toss it to our assistant educator here at the Dominican School of the Deaf. Ma'am, your name and just your experience with some of the learners at the school.
My name is Dimakatso, and my surname is Bukamo, and this is my sign name. I stay here in Gauteng province, and I'm a deaf assistant teacher here at Dominican School for the Deaf. And I must say, I've seen a lot of suffering and challenges when it comes to communication barriers, because hearing people tend to forget deaf people. They tend to forget us as a deaf community. We need to create more awareness to say that we are there as deaf people. We don't always have to fight for everything, because we've been suffering, and because of I've also experienced crime where there was a thief who stole my bag, and I cried, and I was on my way to work, and when they asked me, I could not believe, because no one even assisted me. I was so stressed. I went back home, and then when I tried to find assistance, and they told me that I need to go back the following day to report. So it's a lot of challenges. And I think another problem that we have with our kids, deaf kids, their parents cannot sign. Please, parents, learn sign language, communicate with your kids, because they need to learn. I mean, just contact Nima Foundation so you would get more awareness and know how to support your kids. Please, we urge all parents to communicate with their kids.
All right, thank you so much, Dimakatso Bukaba, for that. And of course, early on we heard from Kinelwe Mokhoshi. I'd like now for Clarence, who happens to be a parent at the school, but looking after, of course, children at the boarding house. Maybe Clarence, speak to us about just some of the concerns that the learners at the boarding house have raised to you in terms of conflict and crime.
Thank you so much. My name is Clarence, and this is my sign name. And yes, I work here at Dominican School, and I experienced as a parent, like you said, a lot of children don't communicate with their parents, and because they don't know sign language, like what she has said before. And I think it's important for that's a major problem that the kids experience, communication.
And of course, earlier we were talking about the NEMA Foundation and just some of the other organizations that gathered here not too long ago to host a conflict workshop. Now, one of the entities that was present during this workshop was the South African Police Service, and we're going to be speaking now to Sergeant Moeng, who is part and parcel of the SAPS right here in Hammanskraal. Sergeant, before I give you the mic, of course, a lot of cases come to you at the police station. You, fortunately, can sign. Just give us a sense in terms of when they walk into that police station, coming, of course, distressed to report that crime. Just what are the things that they will witness from you as you greet them?
Hello, my name is Lebo Moang. So when the deaf community arrives at the police station, normally, yes, I would be there, and I feel very proud and happy to welcome them, because with sign language, I can use sign language, I can communicate with them. But then there are complaints that they have, that they come with, I can be able to assist them. And I make them to make sure that they feel free to communicate with me and to explain what their problems are to me.
And Sergeant, thank you so much for that. Perhaps if we can get the mic and for you to just tell us some of the cases that you deal with specifically as it relates to the deaf community at your police station.
Okay, some of the cases that we are dealing with at the police station regarding deaf people is that communication barrier is the first one. When they come to police station, if I'm not around, deaf people will start by being angry because no one understands them. We had a case whereby one deaf person came to the police station throwing rocks to our windows, crashing our windows. Why? Because the person was angry. He tried to report the case, but no one understood what he was saying. So those are some of the cases that we come across. Another cases that we do have are the cases of GBV, whereby many of deaf people are not reporting the cases. I don't know if the issue is because no one is understanding them or what, but many do have GBV cases. You will find that partners, the male one, will be hitting and beating the partner, and then no one reports. But luckily, the deaf community around here, they're taking care of each other well. So they would come to the police station to say, we saw one of our neighbors hitting the partner. That's when I will intervene and go and interview. Then if it means I should arrest the partner, I will arrest for doing the GBV case.
One of the things that we've seen is that the crime stats, actually crime in Hammanskraal has dropped somewhat, particularly when we start looking at cases of GBV. Just speak to us about maybe some of the challenges, that you wish as a police sergeant would have to assist you, particularly as it talks to interpreters. We're going to be speaking to an auxiliary interpreter a little bit later on in the program. How important is this?
I think it's very much important to have interpreters around, to have people who can understand sign language better, because our people are suffering a lot. So it's so important for us to be able to check, to do awareness campaigns, to walk around, to know what is happening. When we are doing awareness campaigns, we need to have those people like interpreters who can go and explain to them so that they can hear and understand what is our problem. But thank to God, because I can interpret sign language, so most of our deaf community around here, they are able to hear about the GBV cases and other domestic violence related cases.
Yeah. Dimakazo, I want to ask you this question, just based on what the sergeant is speaking, but also what was said during the community meeting about GBV cases. What is your experience around GBV, particularly as it affects the deaf community?
Okay, I will respond to that. I think that there's lots of barriers because of, like she said, no interpreters. And at times when we have to write down as the deaf community. There's that miscommunication, misunderstanding, and they don't understand how we are writing. And so that's why there is a need for interpreter. I'm hoping that with this broadcast now, it will create a lot of awareness, and then we will have that full accessibility whenever we go to the police stations and courts. So please do support us as a deaf community. Can I add to that? Oh, GBV is a very, very big challenge because, yes, we live amongst hearing community. And according, also with my own experience, when a man abuses the wife, and you would find that the wife cannot even go and report or even call the police station. How will they call in the first place? Because they are deaf. And those are some of the struggles. Do you call? Do you drive? What do? Do you call the neighbors? So those are the challenges that we have when it comes to GBV. And also, there's also that accessibility, because we need, after we call or when we get there, the interpreter, accessibility. So the GBV cases, that's why some of them are not even reported, because of that. You need to wait 24 hours, or you need an interpreter to be booked first before you can be assisted, and it's frustrating. And maybe you are in pain, and the next morning you cannot even go to the police station, or whether you do go and you get there, there's still no interpreter. You try and explain, and they said, no, please, we will have to wait an interpreter. Even though when you advise them, please contact Niema Foundation, then they would still have to wait for the interpreter and another day to come. So a biggest challenge that we have is the interpreters. There's few interpreters, and we need to have more interpreters. They need to have 24 hours, including on their database. Whenever something happens, we need that instant assistance, not for us to wait the next day or 24 hours, because GBV, when it comes to the deaf community, it's not easy for us.
All right, thank you so much. And I can see, of course, that you are in pain as you're describing that. But we've just heard now from just some of the parents and, of course, the assistant educator right here at the school, two of them, in fact, and, of course, the South African Police Service around the area in terms of just the work that they do. We'll continue with our discussions. We'll be speaking to some of the learners that have experienced crime as deaf learners right here at the school. And of course, some of these stories are really painful, and given the language barriers that has been spoken to. Now, of course, we'll be speaking to One Foundation too here during this broadcast. But we know that there's a number of organizations that really look after the deaf community right here. But from us here at Hammanskraal at the Dominic School for the Deaf, we'll be right back.